All right, we'll get started. Couple of minutes.
Hello.
Sorry, how do you say your name? I just don't want to butcher it.
That says a designer, but my name is Craig.
Fred.
Craig.
Oh, Craig.
Yes, Craig Signer.
Okay, great. Yeah, welcome, Craig.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess this is the first time. So it's first time for you in this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
so. Some of the folks will probably join in. What we intend to do in this meetup is just try to learn what's happening in this new economy, so-called the crypto economy. If there's a more interest in reviewing some projects, we'll do that. Otherwise, I generally try to stay abreast on what's the new projects going along or what's happening in this world, and maybe we go through some of the research reports or any interesting news tweets, try to dig deeper. The whole idea is to just understand more about this particular economy, so-called crypto economy, and how can we stay in forefront of it as an individual or a retail investor. So if you have any projects in mind, do let me know. Otherwise,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Do you get into any of the altcoins, or do you get involved with any staking or anything, in that nature? I've been in crypto for a short period of time, and so what I've been looking at, things that I'm interested in, is I have an investment in things like Luna, and so I'm interested in the Ang protocol to find out if people are on the same level as me, and or what I could help or share with others also.
Sure. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have been involved in for a few years. Obviously, I think there are different, if I recall, there are different genre of crypto investors, right? A class of 2013, class of 2017, and I think the recently minted class of 2021. So right. Yeah. Yeah, that's how, because everyone learned their lessons. Someone learned their lessons in 2017, someone learned their lessons in 2021, after it went to all 69K, and now it's cut down in half. But yeah, we got to learn our lessons. So I call myself, I'm a graduate of class of 2017.
Oh,
some of them might be from class of 2013 in any case. So yeah, so looking at the markets, I think overall, first let's look at what happened in our general stock market, because as an investor, I also look at stock market and both crypto, and now we are seeing more and more both of them are getting intertwined, and what happens in our general stock market also impact what's happening on the crypto side of the house as well. So are you guys also active on the stock market or only crypto side? Would like to understand your perspective around that.
NASDAQ stocks, tech stocks.
Okay. Anyone else wants to share anything?
Yeah, I'm just getting into it myself, actually.
Into the stock or on the crypto vault?
Crypto side, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so stock market, today, depending on what you hold in your portfolio, the Facebook kind of did it for most of the tech stocks. Oh gosh, I still call it Facebook. I should move over to the new name Meta. I don't know when that would happen, but for me, it is still Facebook. And people say that cryptos are volatile. I'm like, today or in last few weeks, these are the big tech stock market companies, that can put to shame any Bitcoin or any other crypto coins as well. Facebook down like 27%. 1/4. PayPal, we saw a few days ago, was down 26%. Spotify, I think today was down almost 17%. Right? Yeah, 17%. And then we say, okay, crypto economy is pretty volatile. I mean, look at that right now, everything is super volatile here. These are the things on the negative direction. But then I also saw after earnings today, and this is crazy how things just change in a day or in just one day. I looked at Snap, right? It was down almost 24% at the start of the day, and then it jumped up after earnings. It's up like 60%. Let's talk about volatility. This is volatile. So it says, hey, cryptos are volatile, not for retail investors. I'm like, which market is not volatile? So pretty crazy. Looks like maybe after market was better than what happened during the market, at least today. We see most of the stuff showing up red, at least on the general stock market. Dow was down, Nasdaq's down almost 3.25%, S&P down almost 2.5%. But post-market, I think Amazon, Pinterest, Snap, some of these tech companies, they perform really well in after hours. Tomorrow, what happens is anybody's guess. So hopefully, if the risk on segment is back, starts to reflect quickly in the crypto side, right? All of them probably turn back into green. Yeah, the world is not going to end. Yes, the tech high growth companies will be okay. Facebook is an aberration. Probably market reacted too negatively to Facebook. It's okay. Things will survive. So crypto side, I think still all the cryptos mostly have been on range bound. Bitcoin, Ethereum probably have been pretty range bound for ever since, I think, last few weeks. Same is the case on, say, looks at ETH. After the initial rubbing, now it's staying between 3,000 and I would say 2,200, 2,300. So not too much of stuff happening around here. So during the times like these, I tend to focus on, okay, the coins tell one side of a story, but what's happening on the overall on the market in terms of either the growth or where the institutions are going around, or what's happening to various projects. And that's what keeps me more interested in this. Essentially, if the adoption continues to grow and projects continue to do good, crypto prices will take care of itself. So back to that, there are a few stuff that I had. Let's see, what you guys are interested in going through, and we can go through that. So one was, this is what I generally look at, is a weekly funds flow report in terms of where the institutions are, what's their net buy and sell from institutions from a funds perspective. That's pretty quick. But this one, on the ARK Invest Big Ideas report, I had kind of hinted back in some of our previous sessions, but we never got a time to go through it. So if there is a time, we can go through that. Or actually, we can go through some of the happenings of this previous week and understand what we learned from there. There's definitely something that caught my eye. A couple of things. One was around what happened on Wonderland Saga. More questions around, should KYC be important? What happened on Solana blockchain? Not sure if you, and I know that Solana has been pretty real in last 1 year. It became pretty attractive for a lot of retail investors because it had tremendous growth over last 1 year. I think from $2 all the way to 200 plus, and now back to $100. But this is termed as one of Among others, this is also one of Ethereum killers and has seen a lot of traction as well. But yesterday, there was, I would say, the second biggest hack on the bridge, which is between Solana and Ethereum. And there's an interesting story around that. I do geek out to these things, so probably maybe we can go through that as well. So, I mean, what are you interested in? And finally, there is also one report from Fidelity Digital Assets, which compares Bitcoin to digital gold. So, or if you have a questions, maybe we can go through the questions. Still let me know what interests you, and we can, you know.
I see you have something on Facebook coin. I don't know anything about it, but Facebook tried to get into this field or this area, and it didn't go anywhere.
Okay, yeah. So let's start with this. Maybe let's start with the news and tweets, and that generate more discussion, and then we can move to whichever side we see more discussions. So the pretty interesting one which came out today is why we should be in crypto. Owning cryptocurrency can make you more desirable on the dating scene. I think some poll was done, and that's for fun. I would say, what did it say? With Valentine's Day approaching, 33% of Americans say that they will more likely go on a date who mentioned crypto assets on their online dating profile. So maybe it's time to now spruce up our Tinder accounts. And yeah, if you are still in this phase, mentioning crypto assets or maybe any cryptocurrency may not be a bad idea. Now this is actually starting to percolate our dating scene as well. That's an interesting using. Let's talk about this Facebook. So Facebook in 2019 has started a project to create a stable coin, which would be used on the Facebook platform. And when the project started, it was backed by a lot of big names like Visa. I think PayPal was also a partner of the big likes of Visas and MasterCards of the world. So it was a pretty big initiative, but Facebook being Facebook, I think the moment they announced this project, regulators across the world had their tentacles up. Obviously, Facebook is not a name that we would ever trust with any of our financial information. It's great to share what you had for your dinner or where you went to, but no one wants to trust Facebook with anything which is related to finance. So they were squarely in the eyes of the regulators. And then they saw some of the partners, one by one, those partners, started to move away from this project. Facebook did try to distance itself from this stable coin by creating a non-profit association called Libra. So they created a separate a non-profit association, Libra, headquartered, I guess, in Switzerland, like most of the organizations on all the cryptocurrencies are headquartered in Switzerland. And still didn't work out. So last year they tried to change the name. They changed the name from Libra because when they started it was called Libra, had a lot of bad rep in that. And so they did a branding name change to DM, but essentially didn't go anywhere. So I think last week they finally announced that they're not pursuing this anymore. And now they're looking to sell their DM, whatever they have, any technology, etc. So they were working with another firm to launch the stable coin. I guess they're gonna sell maybe the team and the technology. It says maybe around $200 million. So that's it. So Facebook will no longer be pursuing the stable coin and the crypto wallet as well. So they'll be moving out of it, but they probably won't be out of the crypto overall because of metaverse. As they announced already, there are big plans for entering into metaverse. So they will still be hugely involved with crypto, but just not running their own stable coin or creating their own wallet. So that's the story. This was launched with much fanfare, and Facebook is being such a big tech company behind, getting behind crypto was a good news. But unfortunately, they wanted to get behind creating their own stable coin. And I don't think anyone, the regulators would have approved or would have let them go anyway. So, and then slowly they disbanded the team and finally shut down the whole project. So that's around Facebook. So Diem is dead, but Facebook isn't done with crypto. So I think we'll have to see what happens to Facebook in 10 years down the line. Today, the stock is down 27% because I think the market and the street is still wrapping their head around why Facebook is going behind this whole big metaverse, which is not a proven business model. They're going to invest $10 billion this year to build the metaverse. And their main business, which is their ad business, is under pressure from the recent changes that Apple had done. So it will be interesting to see. But yeah, that was the news on Facebook.
You guys discuss NFTs also?
NFTs, we can talk about it. I haven't yet gone into the details of NFTs or bought any NFTs, but let's shoot. I mean, we're open for discussion. So, what kind of questions, etc., do you have around NFTs?
Well, just that if Facebook's getting into the metaverse, I mean, they're one of their bigger tech companies, and that it's a good endorsement. So, I don't know if that has any weight in the trading of NFTs.
The general NFT is very, but I do know that Facebook, along with the Twitter, are also going to work on validating the NFTs. So I think, so if Facebook ties up with, let's say, some of other established brand and create NFTs for them in the metaverse, and again, we don't even have Facebook metaverse, right? So then it might become more meaningful. But right now, metaverse is right now vaporware. So I think what Facebook is trying to do is they already, I think that's one area which probably gives sleepless nights to Mark is, hey, we were too late in the mobile stuff. When we say mobile means owning the mobile operating system. So from a computing perspective, it's Apple and Microsoft. They already owned the computing, the personal computing platforms through Windows and the Mac operating systems. When it came to mobile, it again became iPhones, iOS, or Google's Android. By the time when Facebook was growing, those two players were pretty much established, and we see those duopoly. I think what Mark now wants to do is not to lose the metaverse game or create a platform and become a platform owner for metaverse. I mean, all tech CEOs understand the value of owning a platform. So today the stock was down 27%. Why? Because Apple changed something. And Apple sneezes and Facebook catches fever. Apple made a change in how they don't want the applications to track their users, and that has now upended the business models for all the companies who are dependent on billions of users who are using iPhones, and Apple owns that whole operating system platform. So I think that's the reason, at least my reading is that's why Mark wants to go and spend $10 billion to make sure the Facebook or Meta isn't, work as a follower in the next generation operating platform where consumers will go together and interact. Today, consumers interact with apps on their mobile phones, which is already owned by Google and Apple. If 10 years down the line, we'll probably be doing the shopping in metaverse rather than trying to open the web pages. Some tech giant, I think it's a huge gold mine for any tech giant to start owning or be that platform. So I think that's why they want to just go behind this. Will be interesting to see.
Is that realistic that you think that they can own that platform, or it's going to have to be distributed and shared?
So I think again, I would want as a that whoever the metaverse platform becomes more open and not restricted to one particular company. And I know at least Microsoft has already started. Which company they're tying up with? But I think Microsoft is already starting open sourcing their code on what they're building on the metaverse side. But we'll have to see. Again, Facebook has got 3 billion users in the world. Even if they have their own private form of metaverse, which is not connected to, let's say, the open source metaverse, still we are talking about 3 billion users. So,
but are aging demographics as opposed to the new Web3 that is which is another problem for Facebook, and why they're looking at that as dead money for investment is that by the time they develop the metaverse, the aging demographics of the people that use Facebook won't be interested in using it.
Yeah, true. So from a Facebook app perspective, I think you're exactly right, Craig. Is the demographics that use Facebook app probably won't be using it, in a few years. But I think outside of the Facebook, they still have Instagram. That's where they capture the younger audience. I mean, there are multiple properties, a lot of them yet to be encashed. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, between these three social interactive apps, they got a lot of stuff covered already. I mean, I talk about, let's say, even the folks that I know of, or my kids and their friends, they tell me, Dad, Facebook is for your generation. We don't use Facebook. I'm like, what do you use? We use Instagram. So, okay, I'm still a shareholder for Facebook. Instagram, who owns Instagram? It's the Facebook or the Meta platform, right? Unless and I'm happy that Snap is now trying to move into, of course, they are in the same, trying to attract the same demographics. But between Snap and Instagram, I think those could be the two, and of course, TikTok. But TikTok is not listed here. So those could be two still social media platforms. One is owned by Meta, the other one is Snap. Yeah, so that was the news around Facebook. Eventually, it's good. They're out of Libra. Anyway, this project wouldn't have gone anywhere else. I don't think anyone would have trusted Facebook with anything related to financials. They tried to do this even earlier, also try to tie up with the banks so that we can actually get our bank balances directly on the Facebook Messenger. But that project also didn't go anywhere. No one wants to, they have a branding problem. And that's why now they're trying to change the name from Facebook to Meta, just to get rid of the issues that they have had with Facebook. So that was on the Facebook. Other thing which is a little more thought-provoking, and that's why I thought I'll have it here. So we always talk about blockchains and the crypto projects being libertarian. We don't need to do KYC. They should be open. Why we have to go through the same rules and regulations that the TradFi goes through, right? That's most of folks who are very proponents of Web3 would want it to be. But I don't know if you heard about this, what happened on this Wonderland. So this is another project. And this is a kind of a DAO, which is, of course, this was a kind of a DeFi protocol. And as a part of a DeFi protocol, what recently, I think someone on Twitter had exposed that the treasurer of this DeFi protocol, the core team, one of the core team was a treasurer, was actually a convicted felon. And so that created a lot of concern around how could we hand over the keys, or how could we make a convicted felon a treasurer for this DeFi protocol? I think. And so this gentleman was a co-founder of Quadriga CX. I don't know if you recall this name. Does this name ring a bell? Quadriga CX? Any Canadians here? But this is not an American exchange. This was actually a Canadian exchange, which shut down because, and then they declared that only the CEO had a key to the wallets which held all the coins for the client funds, and then the CEO had died in quotes mysteriously in India. He went to India, and then sudden news comes that he died over there in some mysterious circumstances. No one knows what exactly happened. And you know, the 190 million client funds went missing, and he was one of the co-founders of it. Plus, I think this person also had a lot of credit card fraud charges and all that. So that is why I'm a little very, I would say, concerned. But I think this whole decentralized finance, so I'd say, okay, Walt, you mentioned, I don't know about what DeFi. So DeFi is a acronym for decentralized finance. Means the way we do our general finance in terms of borrowing or lending.
Yeah, I understand that part. Yeah, okay. I just know what that acronym meant.
Okay, yeah. So that's about the whole DeFi. So it looks like there's a DeFi again for every blockchain. There are a few things that every protocol or a new blockchain need to have to be successful. One is of course, your native token. Number two, a DeFi exchange. You know, whether it's Solana, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Cardano, any layer one blockchain worth its salt will need to have these things. So you got a DeFi exchange. You need to have an NFT platform. You need to have your play to earn gaming platform. I think there is a whole very nice a book or cookbook, which is a success story. If you want to create any blockchain as a success story, you need to have these things. So looks like Wonderland was one of them, wherein they discovered that this was a convict. So now a lot of questions around, should we even have KYC being done here? I think these are some tough questions that need to be answered on this one. But that's an interesting one.
I'm sorry to ruin it for the group, but what's KFC?
So, sorry, KYC, know your
KYC.
Yeah, or know your customer, or do your background check in terms of who is.
Oh, know your customer. Okay.
Who is basically behind, behind these addresses, right? And similarly, I mean, this week at least I came across a few such of these projects, which actually opens my eyes on not all that is which is new is actually shining stuff. All that glitters is not gold. Even on Solana, we saw the biggest hack of almost 300 million plus. And there's an interesting, someone actually did a whole investigation of how that was carried out. But yeah, so so we got to be really careful. I mean, these things are pretty new. This will grow eventually. I do see a lot of tailwinds behind it. For example, this week, Indian government moving from banning it and moving it from a jail sentence for anyone owning crypto, they kind of gave a legitimate recognition to crypto as an asset. So suddenly I saw crypto Twitter being lit with, okay, one more country, because Indian government, they release their budget and then they mention that they'll be taxing crypto asset gains at 30%. You can't tax something if it isn't illegal. So that kind of gave a little bit of legitimacy that, okay, another government which was out to ban, and call these as illegal, eventually gave up, and they say, you can't fight this. This will continue to grow. And we saw a lot of crypto Twitter was pretty positive on this one as well. So which is, I would see a lot more tailwind behind this.
So you mentioned the Solana hack. If you have a cold wallet, that shouldn't affect you, right?
Correct. So it depends. So that Solana hack, let's dive a little deeper into what actually happened on Solana hack. So this was not a hack in real terms on the Solana blockchain, but this was a hack on the bridge. Now, many of these protocols, they have something called a bridge, which connects to different blockchains. So now what Solana has is a connection with an Ethereum bridge, because again, I think Ethereum is default de facto standard, wherein most of the DeFi platforms live. And many investors got their starts on Ethereum and hold Ethereum. But so what all other blockchains does, and not just for Ethereum, they allow you to transfer your assets from one blockchain over to other. And the transfer is not that your Ethereum moves over to Solana, but let's say if you hold Ethereum on Ethereum blockchain, hey, on a Solana, let's say there's a DeFi platform which allows me to earn 15% or whatever, or maybe I want to buy some NFTs on Solana platform. Maybe I want to do something else on Solana platform. So, but my Ethereums are on my Ethereum blockchain. How do I make use of those funds? It's just like on our traditional one. Okay, I have a Swiss franc, but I want to buy something on the US side. You have to do a conversion. So on the blockchains, you have an ability to lock your Ethereum that you have on Ethereum blockchain. You log that into a smart contract, which is on Solana blockchain. And those smart contracts are called bridges. So that bridge will confirm, okay, Vivek has got 2 Ethereum and I'm holding on to that 2 Ethereum. And then it will give me 2 wrapped Ethereum or, 2 versions of Ethereum equivalent value that will work on the Solana blockchain. It's like I did a Forex change, moved from my one currency, which was valid only on Ethereum blockchain. Now I got an equivalent amount of Ethereum, which would actually work on a Solana blockchain. So those are generally called wrapped ETH. So, you might have seen this at the call as WETH, WETH. Those are called wrapped ETHs. And everywhere even if you want to move your Ethereum to, let's say, Aave, you'll get your original Ethereum get logged into a smart contract on Aave, and Aave will give you a wrapped Ethereum, which is a testimony that you actually hold, you were an owner of a real Ethereum on the Ethereum blockchain. So there is a bridge which is called Wormhole on Solana. So this Wormhole bridge is basically, let's say if this is an Ethereum blockchain and this is a Solana blockchain. So your wormhole will sit here. You move your Ethereum there. So this get locked. Your Ethereum will get locked here. And this bridge will give you a wrapped ETH of equivalent amount, which then you can use in the Solana blockchain, whether you want to buy NFTs, whether you want to do any DeFis and stuff like that. Right? So the hack happened on this smart contract. So
is that a general indictment? Don't use bridges?
So at least what I want to focus on, I don't want to go anything which has been just around for a year. Because, anything which is in a software, however hard you try, there will always be bugs. Someone will have to, some hackers will have to try that out. And I don't want to be the one who is paying, for the learning curve for the developers of the wormhole. So because it's pretty new, it's got hacked. I mean, Aave has been around for some time. Compound, those have been around for some time. So it was a pretty interesting and investigation someone has done on Twitter. I really want to go into in terms of how, it's on how exactly this hack was carried out. So that's why I want to be really cautious around. There are a lot of new projects coming in. Stick to what you know of, or at least if someone has if you are, someone is actually a smart contract developer, you actually have an ability to go and read the contract on, say, what it does, or at least go through the audit reports of it. Again, I don't have too much faith on a lot of these new smart contract audit companies, because again, those are also pretty new. So I think from my personal perspective, the best audit is that you have been in market for some time, you had increased your asset for some time. It means you became an attractive target for hackers, and you would have learned or would have gone through that fire in few years and would have become better as a protocol. So that's what. So Wormhole, I think someone actually minted 120,000 ETH. Sorry, it could be, I think, around 80,000. What? So let's look into the details. I find it pretty interesting and eye-opener in terms of how exactly it happened. It's a $300 million of worth of ETH that got drained out. Anyway, Solana have had problems of its own just on the blockchain itself. It's been down 5 times over the last 1 year. Compare that with, I think, Bitcoin and Ethereum, we haven't seen any down times. But even if we give a benefit of doubt that they are new, still, I mean, this one, at least for me, is a little cause of concern, because anything on Solana is pretty new. So that risk is always there. So let's look into the detail of how exactly it was carried out. So here's a transaction which actually created 80,000 ETH and pulled out of Wormhole contract. So if I'm interested in doing DeFi on Solana, I moved my ETH, which were held in the smart contract. Similarly, a lot of other users would have moved their ETH. Now hacker comes and actually took 80,000 ETH out of that contract. It drained that contract, and that was a transaction. The great thing of being open source blockchains are actually we could actually look into these details, which is great. So this was the transaction in which from this smart contract, 80,000 ETH were moved out. At that point of a time, it was, the current value is like $214 million worth of it. So this is where I think someone saw this transaction going out and then tweeted saying something seems to be wrong here. So that's how it all started. So this was the kind of the end when we figured out, okay, this transaction had been moved out, but how exactly it happened? So on all these smart contracts, there are so-called guardians. We have also seen that earlier in the Polygon network, which will basically sign on the smart contract transaction. Say, yeah, this transaction looks legit. So what happened over there? The transaction that pulled out 80,000 ETH was actually the attacker transferring 80,000 ETH from Solana to Ethereum. So they did a reverse transaction, moving from Wormhole smart contract back to Ethereum. I originally thought that contract might have incorrectly validated the signatures, but no, the signatures were all checked out. The Guardians had somehow signed off on this 80K transfer as it was 100% legit. How did that happen? If the Wormhole didn't even have so many wrapped ETH, how did it actually move out of it? You need to have so much of our ETH before you actually take it out of it. So they looked at another transaction. What hacker did, pretty smart. Before taking out 80K ETH, he was somehow able to mint 120,000 ETH on this Wormhole smart contract. He was able to falsely create a transaction which shows that he actually has owned or minted wrapped ETH. So generally, wrapped ETH minting is only possible if you're actually moving your Ethereum from Ethereum blockchain over to Solana. It means each of the wrapped ETH is backed by your original Ethereum that you hold on Ethereum blockchain. But the hacker figured out a way to actually create 120,000 ETH in the wormhole smart contract without bringing Ethereum, without holding Ethereum on the Ethereum blockchain. Pretty smart. So they were able to mint so much of ETH. And now if your wormhole contract actually has that much of ETH, out of 120K, now I'm withdrawing another 80K ETH out of it. So next interesting piece is the transaction wherein only 0.1 ETH was minted on Solana. So that's pretty sophisticated attack and pretty interesting to look into these details. Come on, Sol scan, load up. Because it does show the balance before this particular minting was 0.1. So looks like attacker did something on this one. So he first did a transaction to just get 0.1 Ethereum, which is okay. You gotta pay what, $200, $2,500, $250 just to do this transaction. So they did this transaction, and of course they didn't make 120K ETH deposit. But here the things start getting into the weeds within Solana, and this is where it becomes a little more interesting. And if you are really into tech and contract or smart contract developer, I think each one of those should actually go and read what exactly happened here. So this is the first time we looked at Solana contracts, so it took me a while to get through the through my bearings. But this is what I think is going on. The transaction that minted wormhole ETH were triggering this function called complete wrapped. One of the parameters is a transfer message, which is signed by the guardians that says which token to mint and how much. Now, this is kind of a weird, because these parameters can actually be smart contract itself. It's not just the text, but it could be a smart contract itself. This messaging itself is little smart messaging. So, and get into little more details around how this message get created by calling another function, and then whether you understand the code or not, this actually doesn't check the signatures. Right? So it's pretty difficult to wrap our heads around in terms of how come Solana actually be built up like this. How did they have such a big gap around who actually verifies the signatures? So this function, which is actually supposed to check the signature, doesn't actually check signatures. In a typical Solana fashion, there's another contract which gets created by calling verifying signatures. And one of the input is a system program, which contain various utilities that the contract can use, and that attempts to check that the thing that happened right before was this signature verification function was executed. So let's jump on to what the attacker actually did. How did it get around with that? Okay. So it looks like there was one function that was recently deprecated, which wasn't actually checking the address, and the hacker basically took advantage of that. So here's how the system address being used for the input, and the verify signature for a fake deposit comes like this. So again, this is not a system address, and this was recently deprecated. Someone knew about this, and then they just exploited it. So again, I think the overall idea was, I think there are a lot of new projects, at least that I see, which were funded by a lot of VCs, haven't been around, or attracting a lot of users. But as it happened during the earlier days of .coms, I think many of the projects, and I'm not talking about Solana, probably Solana. And what I recently heard was that this wormhole, this contract, the company behind this will basically add 120K ETH to make whole for, I don't think the hacker has returned it, even though they offered $10 million bounty. He hasn't returned any funds. So they'll have to spend those funds to add 120, 80K ETH that were drained out of it. But I think many of these projects have to be in the wild and bake themselves before start to actually call themselves as a competitor to some of the more established players. So if you want to be active on which are the new ones, because many of these new ones you will see will suddenly have a huge jump in prices, be aware that this is still Wild West when it comes to especially stuff like DeFi's and all that. We don't know what we don't know, and it only needs it will need some time out in the open to bake itself up, to make it to harden itself. Right? It's whatever works in your development environment for developers or testers. When it moves out to the real customers, it's a different stuff. So this is pretty interesting on the top 5, or I would say top 6 crypto projects, and the smart contract on that actually suffered such a big attack. This is I think the second biggest attack ever on any DeFi platforms. So I guess someone who is actually contract writers or smart contract developers should definitely go through this thread to understand how exactly it was exploited. But it's a pretty interesting one. Yeah, so that definitely got my eye on what's happening here. And I think after this news, Solana also dipped a bit, but we'll see. There'll be still a lot more time for these new blockchains to grow and stabilize themselves. Hopefully, Solana will continue to grow, and I'm a proponent of having a multi-chain ecosystem. I don't think just one blockchain can solve all the problems, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Solana. So we will have a need for a different type of blockchains for each different use cases, right? Maybe for gaming, we could have a blockchain which specializes only in gaming. Maybe Solana becomes a blockchain which specializes only in DeFi's. Ethereum could become a blockchain which does only become a ledger for the world. Who knows? Those all, I guess, those all use cases are yet to be determined. It's too early to I guess, put a final word on which blockchain is going to do what. But we got to be careful. This is still Wild West, in my opinion. I don't know. Anyone doing anything on Solana?
I'm going to be buying some NFTs that I've been bidding on, and that's a Polygon.
So it's on Solana Polygon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's being minted on.
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
No, the projects are being minted on Solana because the fees on Ethereum are so expensive.
Oh yeah, so Ethereum blockchain is, no one wants to spend $200 in a gas fee for buying, $500 worth of NFTs.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. I forgot, what's the Solana's NFT platform? There could be more than one. What's the biggest one? I don't recall.
No, I think it's just on Solana, but you, in your wallet, you set up,
okay.
You pay for it through Polygon.
Okay, so, the Sol-C was the one which actually I had heard of. Because Solana will blockchain, so maybe it's a Sol-C.
OpenSea.
OpenSea has started listing.
Yeah.
Solana blockchain. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And product, the fashion designer, they're doing a large NFT project that they're launching maybe tomorrow or next week. It's going to be as big as what Adidas is doing.
Right. No, you're right. I think OpenSea eventually came into the temptation because Solana blockchain, and there's a lot of valuing, lot of transactions happening on Solana, and they decided to also support NFTs on Solana blockchain. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah. So now OpenSea supports both, not just Ethereum, but as well as Solana. And in fact, I think recently there was a news around Coinbase. Coinbase have started to support the tokens that are created on Solana blockchain.
Because they're going to be launching their NFT on the Solana.
Oh, so that I wasn't aware of, that Coinbase NFT marketplace will be built on Solana.
Right.
So
that's what I heard.
So, yeah, that's going to be really interesting, because I think market is anyway expecting a lot of traction on the NFT marketplace coming from Coinbase, and
will be able to pay not just with crypto but their credit cards.
Yeah. Yes. It's true. Yes, they did. They signed up with one of these card companies.
Yeah.
So that you can just use your card. And they'll manage all the back-end conversions. So,
they make money on all ends.
they will. And I think that's what the other thing was, they actually listed a couple of tokens from Solana ecosystem. So Ethereum doesn't have any more monopoly on Coinbase. Now even I don't know in terms of what project or what tokens were listed. Maybe just look into this. Which one did they list?
Just this past week, they listed a couple of them. I think Orchid was one.
FIDA and Orca. What are these two do? What are these projects? Now accepting inward transfers for FIDA and Orca. Those are SPL.
Bridges, yeah, for wrapped Ethereum.
This follows rumors of NFT market open testing integration minting on Solana. This is cool. Okay, so OpenSea and Coinbase both are starting to integrate Solana within, which is great. Yeah, there's always place for more than one blockchains. Okay, of course they had their outages, but doesn't talk about what does these two projects do. Interesting. I generally have never, I don't think I've analyzed FIDA Solana, what this project is about. Oh, that's a naming service. Okay, so this is oops. This might be compared. Oh, so I think this.
It's like unstoppable domains, I think, where you can
this might be competitor. Yeah. Got it. Okay. It's like unstoppable domains or ENS service.
Yeah. Similar
to that, but it's on Solana blockchain. Oh, interesting to know. So at least on the I guess it's the same thing. Instead of getting .com, now you got .org, we got .edu, .ai. So now we'll have, instead of .eth, it could be .sol. Yeah, the same story is repeating. What we have seen around the internet side is also applicable on the various blockchain. Depending on which blockchain solves what use cases, there is always room for multiple ones. So this is interesting to see. So I did have an ENS domain. Yeah, not sure if you want to look at Solana yet. I have to yet dig dig my feet into on the Solana ecosystem, try to figure out what's happening on Solana front. But if this is true that Coinbase is going to launch their NFT on Solana, definitely that makes me interesting. What is Orca? Orca on Solana project. Oh, that's a DEX. So decentralized exchange. You got it. Okay. Yeah. Right now, the only decentralized exchange that at least I have faith on and have used is Uniswap. Most of others are just copy paste of Uniswap.
Yeah.
Cool. No, but interesting one. Interesting to see this. What other projects categorize? By the way, I've been pretty closely watching and around the whole progress that's been happening on the Matic.
Yeah.
Initially, they just started as a side chain, but it's impressive to see all the stuff that they have been starting to do as ZK rollups and all that. And I see more and more adoption of Matic projects on multiple blockchains.
Yeah, that ZK sync is going to be the biggest ZK rollup that's going to be built on, for Ethereum I think on Polygon. And if people want, they could download the ZK Sync wallet, which is very, very simple to use, because they said that there's no coin yet for ZK Sync, but they probably will be doing an airdrop for people that use the wallet. So, and the fees are like, a quarter, 25 cents. They're cheap. So you could send money back and forth to yourself and use the wallet. And Coinbase is going to be, they say that, that Coinbase will be using that wallet as well.
Pretty interesting. Yeah, I know they recently spent a lot of money to become a big player on this whole ZK rollup, because that's going to be the future for Ethereum scaling.
Yeah.
And they want to be in forefront of this. But I don't think that they're actually Matic Coin has done much over this time. That's been pretty much sideways.
Well, it went up, I think, close to $3, but then it dropped down. But it still has done pretty phenomenal in the past 6 months, even to be going in its range at maybe $1.50 to like $1.90. Yeah. It's a great investment. I mean, I got into it early.
Yeah. So I think think probably they are also creating a lot of minting a lot of these tokens. So probably there's a lot of dilution also happening because they have to fund these lot of acquisitions that they've been doing. Maybe even that could be a possibility or one reason why. It's a great solve, because I see a lot of attraction, a lot of projects adopting on Polygon, just because it's way cheaper than doing anything on Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, it's like Link. I mean, Link is used for all projects, but the coin you don't make money off of it because they keep diluting it to fund all of these new projects. It'll be great, in another few years, but yeah, exactly.
Chainlink is another one. You're absolutely right. Chainlink
and Poly, those are two like blue chip coins that, but they're going sideways, like you said.
Yeah. And more importantly, Link I mean, it just started as a decentralized Oracle.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see in terms of how they've actually expanded their total. On the general stock side, we talk about TAM, which is total addressable market, moving into a lot of new areas. But I mean,
It's anything. It's the Oracle for everything.
yeah, not just Oracle. I mean, their keeper services it is amazing too. I mean, if so, there were. It started as Oracle, and that's what I started looking at this. But what was their website? But I think now they are into providing verifiable random functions. They have a service for that.
You're right.
They have a service for keepers, which means if I have a smart contract and I don't have to worry about the running of a smart contract in terms of, scaling up or down to run the smart contracts, I could just offload it to keepers, which will basically just run the smart contracts for me. So I'm like, that's amazing. As a developer, then if I'm building, I can just focus on the core functionality that I want to build in my application and leave the execution to the keepers network.
And then it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper.
It's sort of like batched, I think, the information uploaded and offloaded, the information.
Yeah, so of course, there's market data, weather data, sports data, APIs. These all are the Oracle functions, but okay, the randomness is a verifiable random. And then there is a keepers, which was like pretty interesting functionality on. Is there a little more detail around what they do? Yeah. So let's look into this keepers. So keepers allow us to do decentralized execution. Chainlink uses a decentralized network of keeper nodes to securely automate contracts, mitigating risk around manual interventions and centralized servers.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, is that they want to have a completely decentralized versus one that's partly centralized, which Link is not 100% decentralized right now.
So could this be looked at as a competitor to, let's say, ICP?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think ICP is more Web3 developer information, more closer to, I think that, I'm not sure exactly if it's like also a web browser and things, but I don't think it's just about data like Link is. Like, it's not about an Oracle, ICP.
Yeah, ICP is not about Oracle, but ICP is about being ability to run the smart contract on any of the decentralized networks, so that then I don't have to depend on, let's say, AWS or Google Clouds or Azure. So the basic the web infrastructure, I mean, that's what happened with Uniswap. Was when Uniswap when they thought that the regulators are going to come and choke them, they actually had to delist certain tokens from the UI, because regulators could have actually choked the web interface for Uniswap, even though behind the scenes Uniswap run the smart contract on decentralized nodes, but the user interface delivery is probably still happening through one of these cloud providers. So
yeah.
So I think what ICP is trying to do is to decentralize those whole cloud providers stuff. It's pretty ambitious project, though. Yeah, it's the Dfinity Foundation.
Right, Dfinity.
Yeah, so
So,
So yeah, that's what I was trying to, so the internet computer whole ecosystem itself
right.
will be decentralized, and anyone trying to run their smart contracts could then run it without worrying about any single neck available to choke for any regulators.
Right.
Yeah.
Internet computer blockchain overview. Yeah.
Let's see. Yes. Yeah. So this was again one of a project which sounds very interesting, pretty ambitious.
Yeah,
But
very.
I think when it came out, it was like too much hyped up, and we saw. I think there's a lot of a heartburn on this one.
Oh yeah. The price tanked and stayed down.
It was up to like $700 or something, and then tanked down to less than, I think now it's less than 20. So yeah, okay, not 700, but it was like 500 plus. But this is one project which it's an interesting one to
Yeah,
keep.
look, price now just $20.
Yeah, now it's $20. The only reason why even I'm keeping an eye on this one is I don't see anyone actually trying to solve this problem.
Right. I don't keep up with this one once because it was so hyped up, like you said, when it first came out. What was that, like last June or something?
Yeah.
And it was so hyped up. But then even I think that they had problems that some of the developers started selling off their coins and their wallets. And they started leaving the project for some reason. And so I just stayed away from it, and sort of glad I did now that I look at that, when I look at their chart, it's unless they have something that's really going to happen now, it'd be a good time to invest if you know anything about the company, because it's been so low for so long, the consolidation, it's really a good chart if it's a project that's ready to launch.
Yeah. So I know they have been building all these connectors for the other blockchains. And again, I only got to know about it when I heard the news around, hey, there's a rug pull happen and all that. I'm like, what is this project?
Right.
That's where I started looking at it when it was around 40, etc., to understand more about what this project is. And like I said, I find it pretty fast. It's a little more complicated to understand than the other projects, but then I couldn't find anyone else which is trying to solve this problem. So I'm still keeping on my radar to see what else are you doing. Are you going to have a traction on this? So I do know they have actually finished the identity problem. Now they were trying to build bridges. Not bridges is not right name, but to do a transfer your assets among different the blockchains. So again, a lot of work still need to be done, but sometimes these unique projects which are trying to solve particularly unique problems like the Oracle, like the ICP, irrespective of what the native token chart is showing. I just want to keep an eye on this one because, hey, no one else is actually solving the problem. And if this indeed becomes a good use case, then this will be far ahead in the game while others try to catch up to it. So that's the only reason I had any interest in this one. So, okay. All right. Any other projects we're interested in or talk about? Otherwise, there are a couple of documents that we can review. One was on the Fidelity, not the ARK Invest, Big Ideas 2022, which being ARK Invest is a very, it's an ETF issuer, but mostly invest in technologies for the future or high-tech innovation companies. And they seem to be pretty bullish around this whole blockchain economy. So we want to look at that.
Blockchain.
Sorry?
She's into disruption.
Exactly. Yeah. Kathy
Yeah.
Wood.
Uh-huh.
And she was vindicated during whole 2020 when I think the returns were just amazing for ARK investors. But 2021 and 22 have been pretty
Not
bad
good.
for any type of innovation or a growth companies. I mean, not just ARK, but any other growth companies. So
They set up an ETF just to short ARK investments.
yes, the SARK.
Yeah, right. Sad.
Someone who did it probably is making money.
Yeah.
So maybe if you're okay, we can spend some time on going through your big ideas report on what they have to say about blockchains. Rather, if you are on a high-tech growth investor or in innovations, this is a good document to look at. But please understand this comes from ARK Invest, which are generally way bullish on the new and innovation technology than the rest of the analysts. So you might want to tone down your expectations on that. But nonetheless, it's good to know because in terms of what ARK Invest is thinking about either the public blockchains, they also talk about genetics, genomics. Third one is around AI, battery technology, and I forgot the fifth one. I think it was robotics, maybe. So they have 5 big themes, and one of them is the public blockchains. Maybe we spend some next 10 minutes, 15 minutes going through what ARK Invest says. And this is why, the reports like these or some others, I'm more interested to know what's happening on the business front. That keeps me grounded to know, okay, if crypto market overall has come down from 3 trillion to 1.5 trillion, it's still okay. The business wise, I don't see any letter. Business wise, I still see a lot of VC funding still going into crypto projects. I still see a lot of investment funds still holding or getting into digital assets for their wealthy clients. The price will take care of it itself. There are tons of reasons why the price goes up and down on a day, and no one knows about it. No one has any idea, and that's happened even on the public stock market. No one has any idea what happened to a particular company. They didn't announce any earnings, but the stock swooned like 25%. No one has any idea, but that's what the stocks do or the cryptos do.
Vivek.
Yes, Emily.
Can you talk about PayPal? Because there's been a lot of coverage on why Meta fell and that it shouldn't have fallen, but hasn't been that much on PayPal.
So
thank you.
Yeah, so I'll cover PayPal also in detail on the Saturday stock meeting, but because let's talk about PayPal. The huge fall in the PayPal. So I think from my understanding perspective, PayPal did a really bad job in terms of setting customer expectations, right? This wasn't anything new. There are 2 things that happened with PayPal. One is last year, somewhere October, November, they showed us the whole plan for till 2030 or 2025. We actually reviewed that in one of our Saturday meeting, where they were talking about they're going to double their users to 750 million. They're going to become a $50 billion, some numbers. And that was, I think, last October or sometime. And they also told that their exclusive relationship with eBay will also come to an end because eBay is building their own payment system. Right? But they didn't do a good job in terms of communicating this in a manner that the investing community understands the impact of it. So when this earning result, when they came, they told, you know what, as we told you earlier, eBay is building their own ecosystem. So we do see that whatever $400-600 million that they used to earn from eBay, they're not gonna have it anymore. So the number of users that they used to get from by the virtue, because they were the only payment provider solution for eBay, they're not gonna have that anymore. And hence, they want to tone down their growth projections. So there won't become double the users by 2030, but whatever number, I haven't gotten the details of it yet. I'll probably do it before our Saturday meeting. But that's what people mentioned. So none of these should have been surprise to investors if they had done their good job. So my perspective, eBay moving to their own payment platform was known earlier. So now the positive side of that, I mean, whatever happened this quarter was okay. It has nothing to do with what eBay had performed, or sorry, what PayPal had done as a quarterly result. This whole sharp drop was all because of their guidance. And I'm a fan of Dan Schulman, but I don't think, at least in this particular case, I want to hold him responsible for not doing a good job from a communication perspective. None of these things should have been surprise for management. It's not like COVID struck us suddenly. These all things were known. They knew about this. They didn't do a good job of communicating the impact. And that's why the market has suddenly panicked. Now on the reverse side, it's a great opportunity that if they don't have that exclusive arrangement with eBay, which also frees up PayPal to now go and start talking to, let's say, the competitors of eBay, talk to Amazon. Earlier, it would have been a tough discussion to discuss with Amazon on, hey, make us your payment of choice, or other online vendors, because they all were competitors of eBay. So that's a positive side of it. So I think this whole reaction, because it took market by surprise. There is nothing that should have come up there was no new major economic change that had happened, which took PayPal management by surprise. They should have done a good job of communicating the impact correctly. So that's what happened with PayPal. So from a long-term perspective, I think I consider this, again, this is not a financial advice. I consider this as a good opportunity, but it's going to take some time. They have to forge and, fill up the gap from the eBay moving out. So that's a quick review on what's happened with PayPal. And of course, then we have all these tech high growth companies, which are not making too much of a money, which are, PayPal does make, it is profitable, but again, it doesn't pay dividends and all that stuff. So, most of the whole tech sector has been under pressure. On top of it, you come and change the guidance, which is different than what you had shown in your investor presentation a few months ago. Market will react. It was pretty surprise to market, which shouldn't have been if management had done their job properly. So yeah, so that's what happened with this. I mean, from a business perspective, they will still grow, not at the same pace what they had thought they would grow earlier. So that's on the PayPal side. All right, any appetite to look at the public blockchain report or any other project? We can go anywhere, depending on what your interests are. Okay, so if nothing, let's look at what ARK Invest had to say about what they foresee on the whole blockchain and Bitcoin. stuff. So this is talking about the basics. I'll skip that in terms of how the traditional institutions behave and how the Bitcoin or public blockchains, what's the difference and how they behave. Status quo infrastructure, the current one, centralized, closed source, run by corporate and permission, which is now becoming more and more problem. But on the public blockchain, it's a decentralized, especially I think talking about, and I think this report has been created keeping Bitcoin in mind, because not all blockchains are equal and shouldn't be treated as equal. There is a degree of decentralization. I don't think the decentralization is a binary stuff, that either you're decentralized or you're not decentralized. In my opinion, it's a degree of decentralization. Some blockchains are more decentralized than others. Some are less decentralized than others. So Bitcoin, probably the most decentralized blockchain. Ethereum, probably. Solana, not as decentralized as Ethereum or Bitcoin. Similarly, some of the blockchains are, I would say, maybe as good as a corporate run blockchains, because I only got 20 nodes who will validate the transactions. Right? So that's pretty tightly centralized infrastructure. So public blockchain decentralized, of course, open source, user can run it. Anyone can run the blockchain or Bitcoin node, and it is permissionless. We don't need anyone's permission to join the network. Now, this was a pretty important slide. Investors once thought the internet was a new channel among others, right? Radio, TV, newspaper, and internet. I do recall, this is how the internet ads, or you see TV. But now, in 20 years, internet is everything. Internet is radio or streaming TV. We got our news from it. Our communication happens on internet. There's no separate telephone. There's not a separate category. And then we also transact. E-commerce happen on the internet. Similarly, crypto assets issued on public blockchains are likely to impact all asset classes. So right now, I think we are only looking at a little bit of a currency use case or a store of value use case and NFTs. These are the two main use cases that are currently, I would say, prevalent in the crypto economy. Crypto equities, some projects are trying to do that, but those are just a replication, or I would say a representation of the current stock market. It's like a wrapped equity, a token which basically tracks, let's say, a Tesla. I know Synthetics does that, a synthetic crypto equivalent of an equity. But I think the native crypto equities, we have yet to see. The commodities, we have yet to see. DAOs, a lot of stuff has started to happen, but a lot of governance stuff is yet to be thought through when you talk of DAOs. So blockchains, today, we've been talking about it. Today, there's a stock market, there's a crypto market, or a stock economy, there's a crypto economy. Just like there was a TV, there's an internet. There's a newspaper, there's an internet. 20 years down the line, maybe we'll just talk about an economy which is all run on the blockchain or this particular technology. Eventually, we will reach there. At least that's what the ARK Invest analysts are talking about. Public blockchains are stirring several revolutions. The money revolution, which is mostly, I think it's only Bitcoin. I don't see any other project even coming anywhere close to this particular use case. Right? Tell me if you have a different opinion, and maybe we'll all learn from each other. But when it comes to money, I think Bitcoin is far ahead in terms of users' faith or at the end of the day, money is what you and I we decide to treat as money. And I think right now Bitcoin is the only asset which is in this player is particularly serving this use case of a money use case or store of value use case. Yeah. Next is the financial revolution, which a lot of DeFi stuff, a lot of decentralized finance platforms which are available. And the third one revolution will be internet revolution. This is where all those NFTs, creator economy. I create, I own. It's my data, I'll own it. It's not the Facebook, they'll own their data. Today, those are the corporate owned platforms. My video owned by YouTube. And YouTube can shut it down any part of it whenever they want to, for whatever reason they want to. We have seen this deplatforming happening on many of these centralized platforms. Twitter is very infamous for it, on deplatforming users. But that would be what is also termed as Web3 is it's your content, you own it, and not those corporate entities. Pretty insightful in a sense. So, like I said, money revolution is completely decentralized. This is the spectrum of centralization. Financial, DeFi, and all that. Yeah, Ethereum is more decentralized than Solana, Avalanche, or Terra, etc. And then comes the Binance Smart Chain, which is pretty much centralized. Next, they talk about Bitcoin in terms of how the whole, in last 2021, how the Bitcoin has been, how the year 2021 has been for Bitcoin in terms of its market cap. It's $1 trillion market cap here. Hash rate hit all-time high here. Then Bitcoin, the Tesla suspends the Bitcoin. It goes into so-called bear or recession. And then here the China calls in for the banning. Hash rate falls down. Then we see a great migration of hash rate happening from China over to US and to Kazakhstan and European countries. And a few more projects started to move on Bitcoin. The only country that is actually doing an experiment, and there's only one country in the world which actually consider Bitcoin as a legal tender, means you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. You can, trade it just like a currency. Pretty small country, but it's an experiment to see how it goes for them. And then we saw SEC approving first Bitcoin futures ETF, and then the biggest upgrade in last 4 years, Taproot upgrade. I'm still waiting for SEC to approve the spot ETF. Don't know what's going to happen. Okay, the market participants are maturing and focused on long term. So what does this tell us? Long-term holder base hit an all-time high in 2021. So this refers to long-term holder supply. I think from the numbers perspective, long-term refers to, let's see, have they given a definition? 155 days. So anyone holding this for 155 days or more is long-term. So that base is pretty much growing strong. Market taking market share as a global settlement network. Again, I have my own doubts on this one, but from a ARK Invest perspective, they do see this growing. Could continue to scale in response to technological breakthrough. Again, the layer 2 growth, all the layer 2 growth that we have seen on Ethereum, because we got Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum. Bitcoin has a Lightning channel, Lightning network, which is now being adopted, and we do see growth in terms of more and more Bitcoin getting locked on the Lightning Network. So yeah, so there is stuff happening on Bitcoin. It's right now, so far it's been just buy and consider a store of value, but there are other stuff happening on Bitcoin. It is also attracting institutional holders. It talks about, and I think right now, still from an institutional holding perspective, Bitcoin is the largest holding across all other crypto assets. The second one is Ethereum. So it continues to be the crypto asset of choice for institutions. We talked about that. Now there are murmurs around some of the other Latin American countries are actually looking at this particular experiment and wondering about maybe we should move to a Bitcoin standard. Right? Again, we never know until this is actually done. But interesting to note that there are more Bitcoin wallets than there are traditional bank accounts in El Salvador. Concerns about Bitcoin lack of sustainability. Those are the FUDs that we generally see in media. Seems ill-informed to talk about the environmental FUD, social and the governance, and how at least the Bitcoin is better ESG project than many of the others. Mining has evolved into multi-billion-dollar history. So more miner revenue, this actually talks about how secure the Bitcoin network continues to be. So now it has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. You just can't kill any of these. Next, they talk about could revolutionize energy production. So rather than looking at, there's a lot of FUD around how it is Bitcoin is gobbling all the energy and it's not good for our planet. I think the other way to look at it, how it could actually revolutionize on the renewable energy. Again, there are a lot of research papers on it in terms of how the whole energy production works. And one of the biggest criteria on that is if you don't have a consumer which is ready to consume or not consume energy based on the producer's requirements, then it becomes really difficult for producers to actually create those, especially on the renewables. So Bitcoins could actually lead to more movement towards renewable energy, because this could be a business which could take on any extra energy, or if you're short of energy, could choose not to use it. So today I read a news that on Texas, a lot of the Bitcoin mining operators have decided not to use it during the winter months. It's pretty easy for at least the Bitcoin industry to reduce or increase their energy consumption, which is not possible on a lot of other industry. So the proponent says that the mining industry could actually help on more of renewable energy. It's just how the dynamics of this industry works. Now a fraction of global asset, it's got significant appreciation potential. These are super bulls, so I will skip this because they got some hugely bullish predictions. If you're interested, you can go and read into the numbers. But apart from the numbers, I think, again, still a lot of, still way early to talk about, how have we seen everything in this particular ecosystem? I think we are way early. So that's around the whole Bitcoin stuff. So that was a glimpse. So if you're interested, this report is available free of charge. You can just download it from ARC website. Next, it talks about Ethereum and DeFi. I don't think we have time to go through that. So we'll stop right here. And yeah, if there are any other questions or any other projects that you are interested to maybe deep dive into for the next session, do let me know. We can maybe pick up a specific project. But these are the times when the markets are not always going towards moon, markets are moving sideways, best time to learn about the projects. Most when there is a limelight not on the projects, those are the best times when the actual development happen on these projects. So pretty exciting to, it'll be okay to look into any projects that you find exciting.
If anybody else finds interest in how the financial institutions are using the staking and the other DeFi protocols like Anchor, because I think that is what I've been reading, that the financial institutions are going to be offering products but they are going to be using the DeFi protocols like Anchor. And if anybody else is interested in see how we can talk about that in simple terms and how that affects us or affects us as retail investors.
Right. Now that's a good topic. I do know that a lot of hedge funds, they already are into this business.
Right.
Or the, let's say, family offices, especially the close knit of Wall Street firms. Either those are hedge funds, I mean, which don't take any public money, or
Right.
the family offices. They are all over on this place, and that's the reason why the other companies like Celsius and BlockFi are able to offer some ridiculous amount of APY on your crypto assets if you choose to provide to them.
Right.
Because they see a lot of demand from these financial institutions, especially hedge funds and the family offices of those assets, because they use this to do all the DeFi stuff, which are regular, retail investors can do. So I think they are already onto this. But I think what I'm also waiting for, and maybe we can discuss more, is today doing this all DeFi stuff or yield farming is still complicated for a normal user, who still want, for a normal user, investing is all about logging into my brokerage firm account and do the stuff from there, rather than trying to deal with these, different wallets, different keys to manage with and all that stuff. So yeah, I
agree with you. Yeah.
When these brokerage firms, or let's say my banks, get into this and offer me higher rate of interest, because now they are actually moving into these whole DeFi platform. Yeah, but yeah, maybe I can try to search on which companies are into this. But like I said, these are mostly the privately held funds, so may not be available in public, but I'll try to find that out. That's a good topic to talk.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cool. All right. Thank you everyone for your time. And as always, if you have any afterthought or any other topic you want to talk about next week, do let me know through a message on the meetup, and we'll try to cover that next week. Good night, everyone. Appreciate you guys joining today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.